Alright, big warning slash disclaimer at the beginning of this video. Some people featured or talked about in this video, some I'm either not affiliated with or do not wish to be affiliated with anymore. So please respect their own privacy. The only reason I'm mentioning some of them in this video is just to give a more accurate document of the troubled development of the Ziggy story slash Ziggy's mansion. This is a thing that has never really been public knowledge. It has just been a thing, that has just, been in my head and, I've talked to a couple people about the series and stuff. But this video will definitely pretty much explain everything about what the series was, what it was going to be. So like I said at the beginning, don't harass people. It's not cool. You're not a cool dude for harassing people. So just don't harass people. Alright, enjoy the video. Hello everyone, it's me, Ziggy. And, well, this video, definitely, I wanted to make one day. I was going to make this video at the beginning of the year, back when I did the April Fool's Day stunt. Because if you remember, the April Fool's Day stunt was supposed to be the cancellation of Ziggy's Mansion, but the plan was I was supposed to release, a really shitty, shitpost video the first day, and then the next day I would post the actual announcement of the cancellation, but the schedule got a little messed up because I didn't finish either video in time, so none of them got posted on April Fool's Day. But yeah, that was supposed to be what was supposed to happen. It was supposed to announce the cancellation. And in the second video, the second video was supposed to be this video right here. I was going to talk about the series, but honestly, I wasn't ready. Now I feel a lot more ready, and I feel I can just dive way more into it. Yeah, a whole almost year later. It's still 2025, but yeah. So this video, it might be pretty long. I don't know. I'm just recording this as the timeline goes by. But this video, as I said in the disclaimer section, will be a complete breakdown and just going over exactly what was going to happen, what happened in the Ziggy story. Okay, so I guess our story truly begins after the release of Red. Shortly after the release of Red, sometime, I believe it was August 14th. I may be wrong about that, I'll have to double check. August 14th was the day that I made the Ziggy Master character. His design back then was slightly different. I gave him sweatpants, and also he had a much, flatter, underside of his skull. But overall, the design has mostly stayed the same. But basically, that was when the Ziggy Master character was originally created. He was intended originally just to be a mascot, just someone to be the face of the channel while I continue to work on stuff. But over time, I slowly became more attached to the character, and I began to think, what if he had his own, adventures and stuff? What would that be like? And then it wasn't truthfully until, I played a lot of, okay, so I'm pretty sure you know about the game Rec Room, and if you don't, it's, kind of like Roblox, I guess. Rec Room, there's a specific genre of, games in Rec Room called, me and, everyone in Du Bois, Du Bois is a friend group that me and a couple friends you might know had. So we always called these maps, there's a specific group of maps called chaser maps, where it's very, very, what the game is fairly simple to comprehend. It's just, it's kind of like mascot horror, I guess, where where an entity or a character or whatever is chasing you through a maze, and you have to do some kind of goal in the maze. This is a very specific genre of game, I guess. So I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if like Ziggy got his own chaser map game? And then I created the Ziggy's right. I just call him Monster Ziggy. Um, I believe at one point he was supposed to have an actual name, but right now he's just called Monster Ziggy, and that probably is gonna just be his name, just Monster Ziggy. Um, Definitely, I still think I made him exactly on August 30th, 2023. I am still satisfied with the model. I think it looks really, really good. And also, this was back when I had a VR headset, and I was able to make it with a VR headset, and it definitely made the model way, way better. But this is truthfully where Ziggy's Mansion started. It was with this 3D model and this like concept. Um, the map itself, um, the game itself, it never really like I couldn't figure out how to like program the chaser aspect of the game. So that was just like left completely like I kind of just like canceled that project after a while. But I still loved the Monster Ziggy like character design. Like I really like that design and I wanted to use it for something. So basically, yeah, the rest of 2023 I was just trying to like think of ways to use it. I thought of doing because there's another genre in Rec Room that are like story games or like quest where there's like a set story that you gotta go down. And I was thinking about doing one of those, and I came up with it was supposed to be like a smaller story, but over time it was supposed to like grow and grow, I guess. Um, I did create, I think around this time, like concept sheets for what I wanted the location for Ziggy to be in, Monster Ziggy to be in, to look like. I don't think I have those papers anymore, but yeah. So I was trying to figure out stuff to use with him, and I really like the story map idea, but over time I just kind of just lost interest in it yet again. But I still wanted to use the model for something. I was still keen on that. I wanted to do something with the model because the model just looks cool, and it's like one of my favorite designs I think I've ever really made, and just wanted to do something with it. So I believe this was around the same time when it was like Christmas time. So around this time because I'm making this video on December 12th right now. December 12th, yeah. Um, but I started because I worked on a secret project only for my friend group, Du Bois. It was a little short film animation thing back in 2023. I never like officially released it. I think it was public at one point on the old Du Bois channel, but obviously the Du Bois channel is not here anymore, which of course means the video is not here anymore. Um, I might make it public again one day. Probably not though, but it's nothing too special. But basically, the plot summary is me. It was basically a group of three friends. Me, Ziggy, me as Ziggy, Funny Man, and Alta. And we were basically, it was basically like off the wall humor, kind of just stuff that was meant to only be for our friend group. Um, but more specifically, it was kind of like the starter of the Ziggy story, I guess. Like, it was like the first ever thing that I, like, kind of wrote with the Ziggy character. Which, I'll be honest, I kind of wrote him as a bit of an idiot. Mainly just because I kind of viewed myself as an idiot. So, yeah. Um, but so yeah, that released. Well, it never really officially released. It was just in the friend group. I just made it for that. Um, but yeah, I think it also was about that time. It was 2024 when I was getting work on a sequel to it called Shamrock Shake, Du Bois the Show Shamrock Shake, which was a video that never got finished. But only it only like the bits that were finished, it only just added more fuel to the fire of like I can make a series with this character, like it's cool or something. So now I don't view the Du Bois the Show episodes as canon to the Ziggy story. I never did, but I did think they were like definitely the starting point for what would eventually be the Ziggy stories, I guess. Um, but yeah, I believe the second episode was also public at one point, but because of what happened to the Du Bois channel, it also got removed. Again, don't know if I will ever make it public again. It's not that interesting. I do think it's funnier than the first one, but it's not even finished. So I'm probably not going to make it public. All right. So still, while I was deciding, obviously I was still working on other projects. Like I was beginning work on Home Shift, and I was working with P100 on the Ziggy video games. While doing all that, I was also trying to figure out what to do with the Monster Ziggy character. I was slowly developing the Ziggy's Mansion story, which, by the way, originally Ziggy's Mansion and the Ziggy story, I guess, those were like not really meant to be connected, but I just made them connected later on, just because I thought it'd be like I thought it'd be more confusing if there was two different Ziggy stories going on. Ironically enough, I think I made it even more confusing the fact that they were connected. But um, I guess you'd be the judge of that after I tell you. Um, but I think I was developing the mansion stuff way more. I definitely had a way more of a set goal with that. But here's the thing: the whole part about the mansion part, the Ziggy's mansion, because I was developing the story. And this was back when it was originally supposed to be a Rec Room game. The story that I was developing, it was way more of like a final episode, I guess. Like it felt like a finale to a much bigger thing. So I really just like I felt like I needed to have something else. Like it didn't feel like it was like rewarding itself enough. I guess like it didn't feel complete. Like it was the story that I came up with. Just it wasn't right. I guess like it had its ending, but it didn't have its like middle. Like that. That's what I usually do with all my projects, which is not really good. I don't think it's a good model, but yeah, I always start with I know what the beginning is and I know what the end is, but I just my job to figure out what the middle could be. This is the first project where I knew what the ending was going to be, but I had no idea what the beginning was. And the middle, of course, I have no idea what the middle would be either. Um, so truthfully, the like actual start of the like publicly available Ziggy story content would be the Mirror Man series. The series Who is Mirror Man, which was a small ARG thing that I did during my last weeks of school, I believe. Um, yeah. So Mirror Man was a ARG thing. It only lasted a couple days. Believe it or not, that was the actual plan. It was supposed to last not too long. I actually no, I think it was supposed to be a bit longer, but like, eh, I just I knew how it was gonna end, but I was just worried about school stuff, so I feel like I had to end it a bit quicker. Um, but reason why that's important is that is, believe it or not, that was the introduction, I guess, to the Ziggy world, which is a very, very bad idea. Because I never introduced Ziggy or Funny Man or Alter any of these other characters. I only just like I set up a villain, and this whole series was just like set up for this villain. which is a very, very bad idea, because like why would you set up your villain and then not have your main protagonist and stuff? Like, why would you not have that? So that was definitely a bad way to start off the series. And to be honest, I like Mirror Man. I like it as a concept, but like it's weighed down by its honest to God horrible ending. I do think the ending is very, very bad. And it's mainly just because I know the true intention. It was made to be, it was made to just like yeah. I was forcefully taking this series and completely like not like completely changing it, kind of like it was like supposed to be like something like really cool, like this ARG thing, but I also I think I was like trying to put the Ziggy stuff in there because I just I wanted to have like a starting base for like, okay, so this is where you could like start to like unravel the mystery and all this stuff. And the thing is, I was supposed to make another series like this with another villain in the Ziggy story, but like it's I realized after the first time that it was a bad idea to set up a villain before you even know anything about the world. Um and then afterwards, I did do some small world building in episode 4 of Mirror Man, but still it was like nothing at all. And also I'm realizing there's actually a lot of plot holes in Mirror Man that don't really line up with the rest of the very, very short lived Ziggy series. Um, but basically after that, I released the video, the 4-day challenge, which in the Du Bois group we like to do like a thing where it's like a 4-day challenge. Like we would have 4 days to make a video and then to show it off afterwards, and we would have like judges and stuff. So as my 4-day challenge thing, I thought about I thought about connecting a couple things together. So I would have the Ziggy lore back again. Yeah, I would have the Ziggy lore, but I would also connect it with the Mirror Man stuff. That way, it was more obvious that all this Ziggy story stuff was supposed to be connected with Mirror Man. The only problem is I never posted any Ziggy story stuff publicly before that, so it was I think it was obvious in the friend group, but to like the public like knowledge, because I was also posting these videos publicly. It like never made any sense, I guess. Because people probably have no idea who the fuck Ziggy was, like the character Ziggy. Um, so yeah, obviously that was that was confusing. 4-day challenge overall. I mean, it's really only the ending that matters. The rest of the video is like nonsense. But yeah, 4-day challenge. That still obviously was not a good starting ground for my series. So, that summer, I was working on both Bandit, and around the same time, I was also starting Ziggy's Story Start, which is just what I called it. Which I don't like the name of it, but whatever, it's what it's called now. And this was meant to be the starting ground for where you're supposed to like start the Ziggy Story series. That's why I literally named it Ziggy Story Start. It has its very own like lore. It was this is just off of memory, by the way. I haven't seen it in like a year, I'll be honest. But it was supposed to be like years after World War One, which by the way I did like no research for World War One stuff, so I realized I did get some facts wrong and shit. Um, but like like some kind of like gas leaks or something were going out, and it was like making objects come to life. Which is, by the way, yeah, all my friends were featured in the series as themselves. And obviously, Funny Man was like a clock dude. Alta was like an eyeball monster. Silly was also a clock dude, a clock person. It's just I realized I had to like make all this make sense somehow. So my idea of making that make sense was just to have all of these like object people, I guess. Like have them be actual objects that were like turned into these like humanoid people, I guess, if that makes sense. That was the idea. That was the idea for that like whole opening scene, was meant to establish what exactly we would be dealing with here, I guess. Um, and then we meet Ziggy with a very very short song number because I can't fucking sing. I cringe too much. I cannot sing at all. So the short scene is supposed to be the singing scene is like really really short and stupid. Um, but then right afterwards we get introduced to Rod. Okay, originally his name was Fake Ziggy, but I call him Rod just because I like the name, and also, I mean, I don't know, I don't know, I feel like Fake Ziggy's a little stupid. Um, obviously, I do play into that joke a bit in the Ziggy Story Start video. Um, but afterwards, okay, so they have their little like banter back and forth and stuff. Which, by the way, I just want to comment on this. I do think it was very very stupid of me to make all the villains just variants of Ziggy. Like again, people do ask me sometimes, like, "Oh, is Ant a fake Ziggy and all this?" No, okay, there are like there are three different characters. There is Ziggy himself, who is supposed to be like an interpretation of me. There's Fake Ziggy, who is also Fake Ziggy slash Rod. He's also called Rod. Who is also an interpretation of me, but from another angle. And then there's Ant, or Phantom Ziggy, who is completely their own character, who doesn't really represent any version of me. It's just a cool idea of a character that I had, I guess. But Ant was definitely the most developed character out of all of them because they had a whole series dedicated to them. Anyways, back on track. Ziggy story starts. Ziggy and Rod are having a little argument. They are like neighbors and stuff. Which, by the way, yeah, I was developing the Ziggy games around the same time. So the Ziggy Rod was originally a villain character from the Ziggy games that I carried over into this. Which, by the way, the Ziggy games were actually meant to tie in with Ziggy's Mansion, and the original story for the game was supposed to end with like a cliffhanger that was supposed to lead into Ziggy's Mansion, but I decided, because the game development was taking very very long, and I'm not trying to disrespect P100 for that. P100, I know, has his own life. He's not like bound to me. I do get that. Um, and also myself, I didn't really I wasn't making as much like big progress, I guess, with the game. But by the way, the games are not canceled. Don't think that me saying this shit means that the games are canceled. They're not. Um, I will say they are definitely getting a story reworked, but besides that, they are still in development. But obviously, like I said, the ending was planned to be a setup for Ziggy's Mansion. Um, and yeah, that's where the Rod character came from. And I believe it is also where the director came from. If you don't know, the director is the guy that Rod speaks to at the end of Ziggy's Story Start. He was supposed to be a human wearing wearing a skeleton mask. Like he was a human disguising himself as a skeleton. That was supposed to be uh, like I don't know if I was ever going to reveal that twist at some point, but that was the director. That's what his like role was supposed to be, and he too was a character that was made for the games. But I just brought him over to the story, the Ziggy story bit, just to like add some more characters, I guess. The beginning part, Ziggy Story Start. I'm still on Ziggy Story Start. I'll be honest, it is more about Rod than actual Ziggy, which I did notice that while I was making the video. I think the video is supposed to be way longer. I think so. But I think it was also like that video was also part of like we did like a week challenge. Like it was kind of like the 4-day challenge, but it was like for a whole week. And I only had a week to work on this video, so I kind of rushed it a bit, very much so, just to get it out the door so it could fit in with the 1 week time limit that the group chat made. Which even much so, I think I did get it a couple seconds late. Anyways, so yeah, these videos still take a long time, even though they're really shittily put together. They still take a long time. Trust me, they do. Especially with how my crazy mind works. Definitely. All right, so getting back once again to Ziggy Story Start. The video itself, I guess it's an alright introduction. I feel like it's the only like true introduction. I do wish I did it a little bit differently because, as I said before, it feels like kind of Rod is more of the main character than Ziggy, which Ziggy's supposed to be the main character. But I feel like I focused it a bit too much on Rod, especially with like the machine making and all those other like little side quest things. Like Ziggy only shows up at the beginning, and like for a little bit, like during like a short little scene. Which, by the way, in the video there are like dates, like April and January and all these other dates. Those were real days where we had like 4-day challenges or like things in the group happen. So I was like trying to connect those like group activity things with the story. Personally, I don't really think that was a good idea because it's very odd. The series was like very oddly put together because it was like I was trying to connect the real friend group activities with like a fictional story. Yeah, I don't know. The Ziggy story. I think I'm just gonna cap off the Ziggy story start thing right here with this. Um, it definitely was a better introduction than Mirror Man. Mirror Man, I love the series, but as I said before, I love the series, but the actual like ending itself really brings it down. Because I was trying to connect it way too much to something that it really wasn't. I feel like Mirror Man itself could have worked as its own thing. I didn't have to connect it. And then Ziggy Story Start, I feel like did kind of save Mirror Man a little bit, but just a little bit. And then we get to, canonically in the story, the next video, which was intended to be made only a little bit after Ziggy Story Start, but I had a lot of things happen in that period of time. School, and then some drama happened with the boys, which if it's not important, I'm not gonna go over it in this video. But yeah, some drama stuff did happen, of course, and obviously, yeah, the friend group is not here anymore, as you can very clearly see by the channel and stuff. But yeah, the next video that was planned, I had this video idea, this name, called "The End of Normal." I don't know. I just like that name. So I wanted to make that the next video, and this video would have been like the branching path between what would be the end of the Ziggy story, like the prologue, and what would lead on to Ziggy's mansion. And I was actually planning on starting Ziggy's Mansion in the beginning of 2025, but obviously that didn't happen. Alright, so End of Normal obviously got plagued with a bunch of delays, and the video itself, I finished like the first like minute or so, and then the rest of the video is kind of just like pictures, just drawings that were intended for the video, but I didn't get the voice acting ready. So, yeah. So yeah, the video itself is unfinished. You can find it on the unfinished videos playlist. But I don't really know why you would watch it, but yeah. So that is like the end of the like publicly available Ziggy story slash Ziggy's Mansion content. Ziggy's story was intended to be a prologue that would give you like the nuggets of information to go like start off. I was originally intending it to be you could just watch Ziggy's Mansion all by yourself and you wouldn't need the Ziggy story stuff. But I feel like I was making the story a bit too complicated. So now I'm pretty sure if Ziggy's Mansion was to actually exist, you would probably need to watch the Ziggy story shit. I really hope everything I'm saying actually makes sense and I'm not just rambling. I probably am rambling though. Um yeah. Alright, so basically getting back to the end of normal, this is what the story was supposed to be. So it was supposed to take place after 4 Day Challenge, after the Mirror Man stuff. Basically, Ziggy is kind of upset at himself because he put everyone in danger. I believe, I think that was the intention. Put everyone in danger because of him falling for Ant's trick in the Mirror Man series. And obviously that led to the stuff from 4 Day Challenge. So he's like kind of like down, like really tired in his house. Funny Man obviously comes up and asks him like some stuff. And then Herbert, which is that the character, he's also a real friend that was in the friend group. He never left the house in 4 Day Challenge, and I was intending for that to come back in a way. I forgot the full reason why Herbert was going to be there. I think it was just to get Ziggy out of the house, like a plot point to try and get him out of the house. So I was having some issues with Alta Mainlander personal drama stuff. So I couldn't really have him in the series anymore. So I was trying to find a workaround. Because he still was technically in the series. He was in the Mirror Man episode. So I was trying to like continue to have that continuity so I wouldn't have to remake the Mirror Man, the ending of the 4 Day Challenge again. So I was trying to find a way. And my idea was take because Ulta originally was going to have a fairly big role in the Ziggy story, Ziggy games, all this other stuff. He was planning to have a fairly big role. So my idea was if I can't really if he can't really be in the series anymore, to have him be replaced with someone else, possibly another friend. And this is where Zabarath comes into play. Zabarath is a real life friend. He is not in the he's not in the Du Bois friend group. He never really was. But he was kind of intended to be like, I guess, the ultimate replacement for the series. That sounds kind of bad, but it was just intended for the series, so I didn't have to remake 4 Day Challenge. I was trying to figure out the stories and stuff. But I guess I'll get back to that. I'll get back to that in a moment. Real quick. Shortly after I made the Monster Ziggy character, this is like late 2023. I did make monster versions of Funny Man and Alta's OC as well. Obviously, Funny Man, his design was at the time just like Tony from Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared with one eye. That was kind of his thing, so that's why it looks like that. His monster design did eventually get a redesign a little bit later. Reason why all of them had like a monster design, I'll explain that in the Ziggy's Mansion section. All of them had a monster design, including Ulta, which obviously, if I couldn't use Ulta anymore, then I would have to try to find some kind of replacement. So, I created a monster version of Zabarath. I only really had him in sketches. I don't think I ever fully like took. I think I began work on a 3D model, I believe, but like I didn't fully like start like fully like have him there. Which by the way, I thought this was kind of a funny coincidence, but I made this Zabarath like character model thing. I don't think I ever even told him about it. I was going to at some point, but like a whole bunch of like shit was happening with like drama, friends and stuff. So I never showed it to him, but I think it's very funny that the character design itself, I feel like, looks very, because originally his character looked like a little lightning bolt with like a hoodie and stuff. And then Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared Funny Man made a redesign for him with like the lightning bolt stuff for his own channel. And I think it's very funny because the monster design that I had in mind had like lightning bolt hands and stuff, and this was before Funny Man made his redesign for the character. So yeah, I thought that was a funny coincidence. I have no idea if Funny Man actually based the design off of that. I don't even really know if he knew about it. I think I might have told him one time, but he probably doesn't even remember. Alright, so getting back to the end of normal, obviously Zabarath was kind of meant to be the replacement for Alta. He was planned to have his hoodie design instead of the lightning bolt one, just because I like the hoodie design a bit more for him. I forgot like the specifics of the story, but I think at one point Rod and Ant were supposed to like meet up at one point. Yeah, I think they were supposed to meet up at one point. And I think they would have like discussed stuff, and the whole point of that video was they were gonna keep talking about this old mansion. Basically, they're like there's supposed to be like two plots going on. Herbert, Ziggy. Okay, so Herbert, Ziggy, and Zabarath. That was a plot line. They were going over to Zabarath's house for something. I forgot why. But that was a plot line. And then the other plot line was Rod and Ant were discussing stuff about the mansion. Both parties were discussing stuff about the mansion. And then eventually the video would like end with Ziggy deciding that he's gonna go up there. He's gonna go up to the mansion, and then that's kind of when the video would end. But yeah, that was the original intention for the end of normal. That was how the video was going to end. Obviously, only a small fraction of that was even finished. And yeah, I'm not intending on finishing this. That's why I'm telling this now, because honestly, I was still, even after I kind of canceled Ziggy's Mansion, I was thinking about bringing it back somehow. But after a while, I just know that it's something that like kind of just can't exist. It really can't. The closest thing I can give you is this video that will kind of go over everything. Yeah, that's about as closest thing as you'll get to actually having Ziggy's Mansion or the rest of the Ziggy story. Alright, so finally, now getting back to Ziggy's Mansion, this is probably the time of the video to tune in, and yeah. So finally getting back to it, obviously, the whole Rec Room game stuff, it wasn't really working. So at this point, while I was developing all the Ziggy story videos, I eventually just decided to just make it a series. It was intended to be about like 4 to 5 episodes. I at least knew there was going to be 4 episodes, but I had no idea if like I could keep it going or not. I had a small idea for a possible season 2, but I also just wasn't really like full on like keen on making a continuation of any sort. And also, its whole development had a lot of ups and downs. Also, yeah, just one last clarification. I am fully talking about Ziggy's Mansion now. I'm not referring to Ziggy's story anymore. The first like true beginning I know was gonna be like in this like odd abandoned technological place. And originally there was a character, I think his name was Gordy or something. He was supposed to be kind of the main character, I guess. He was like this like balding white guy character. And he was supposed to be the main character that would follow throughout the series. Eventually, of course, I had him changed because not only is this like random character that has never really been talked about before supposed to be the main character, that like didn't really make fully sense to me, but also I knew that eventually I would just need to have Ziggy be important again. So of course I had Ziggy finally back again as like a actual character. The series was supposed to start with like this voice on the intercom telling Ziggy to wake up, and then yeah, he wakes up. There's like this crashed elevator or something. He just wakes up in like this rubble. His design would have been slightly different. He wouldn't have his hat, and he would have had more tattered clothes. I don't really have a picture of that, but you can just picture what that would look like, I guess. Um, and the voice on the intercom that wakes him up, he would have called himself Alex, and he would have said like some stuff like, "Oh, I can't believe you're back" or something like that. And he said that Ziggy obviously wants to try to find a way out. He doesn't remember anything that happened. But this Alex voice keeps on referring to him, saying like, "Oh, I'm happy to see you're back. You've been gone for a little bit or some stuff." Eventually, Alex says that he can try to help Ziggy out of his situation and get him out of this mansion. Which the whole point of it was that the end of Normal made it look like this like mansion thing was like this it's just some like creepy haunted thing. It's probably gonna be for like one video. But when you actually went inside, it was like this big industrial, like almost like science factory place. Like the mansion itself was supposed to like defy all laws of like how physics and stuff work. It was supposed to be like this marvel of like all these like different shit. Um, but yeah, Ziggy wakes up at this technological thing. Um, he begins his journey with Alex on the intercom. Always referring to him. Which, by the way, I know I have some real life friends named Alex. This was not supposed to be any of them. In fact, if anything, it was a coincidence because like the name Alex just kind of popped in my head. I didn't really think about the fact that I have two other friends that are also named Alex, and it's in a series that are full of like interpretations of my own friends. But yeah, this wasn't supposed to be like a specific character. I guess this wasn't supposed to be like a person. This wasn't supposed to be an interpretation of a person. It's supposed to be their own separate character entirely. Um, so eventually, there would be like stuff on the walls that would say like emergency pod disactivated or some stuff whenever Ziggy woke up. I'm gonna try to have some pictures of the map because I finished the entire 3D model of the map for episode 1. Episode 1 is definitely the most developed out of all of them. The rest of it, I'll get to that, of course, but so eventually, yeah, Ziggy continues walking on. However, the pathway is like blocked off by a bunch of rocks. So Alex says that, oh, there was a pathway that people used to go down, and he eventually goes down that pathway, of course. That pathway leads into this big, like, almost like toy shop area where it's like a bunch of like animatronics and like mechanical devices and stuff. And the big thing was that there was like a big keypad thing with like a face on it. And then Alex would have said, "Oh yeah, the code. I forgot what the code was, but it was like somewhere like in this room, I believe." By the way, I have no idea who Alex would have been voiced by. Probably one of my friends. I have no idea who would have voiced him though. But yeah, eventually Ziggy does find the code for the door. He hits the buttons, and then there's like the door opens up. There's like it's like this big like little like closet area though. There's like nothing really in it except there's a hole in the wall. Ziggy climbs through the hole, and it leads to like this big industrial room with like a bunch of like pipes interconnecting to other parts of the area, I guess. And then Alex just says, walk across, there's another like hole in the wall that you can go through. So yeah, it was gonna be like a little segment, kind of like a montage almost of Ziggy trying to go across the pipes without falling and hurting himself. He eventually does fall, but it's kind of revealed more as like a joke that when he reached the bottom, there was just like a solid like ground, like there wasn't anything there. In fact, I believe I remember there was like a home shift reference down there with like some like broken home shift characters down there. But yeah, there was just like a ladder that would have led back up, so it was more just like trial and error to make it to the other side. The actual fall itself wasn't too bad, it was just trial and error. Eventually, of course, Ziggy made it to the other side. Um, and then there would have been this other room with little like robot dudes. I forgot what their name was, but there was like there's just some little robot dudes like on shelves and stuff. They were all deactivated. Alex would have told Ziggy that he needs to jump down because in this room there's a giant hole in the ground with like spikes and stuff. Like it's a very very like scary looking place to go down. By the way, I'm pretty sure if you watch the trailer, you can probably see all these like shots that I'm talking about. But yeah, so Alex tells him to go down this hole, and as he's saying this, all of the little robots on the shelf begin to come alive and are like jumping off the shelf and trying to attack Ziggy. So Ziggy goes down. He jumps down the hole, and it leads into like this pipe that leads all the way like down to like this very like red place, I guess. It was it was supposed to be like kind of like soil or like dirt. This is supposed to be like the lowest like possible place in the mansion. And basically a bunch of skeleton people were there, like a whole bunch more. One thing that I wanted to keep from the Ziggy story stuff, and I'm sorry, this is going back a little bit to that. This very, very small notice is I wanted to make it look like there wasn't really that many skeleton people. Because my reason for that is that skeletons obviously we are skeletons basically. We have skeletons in our bodies and stuff. So if all the humans were supposed to be like eradicated and like gone, like extinct because of object people reigning supreme, if that was supposed to be the original story, then my idea was pretty much like almost all of humanity would have been like down here in this mansion, down here in this specific part of the mansion. There wouldn't actually be any humans though. It would have been like actual like skeleton. It would be like fully like walking skeletons like Ziggy. Ziggy is trying his best to blend in. There would have been like a bit of a musical sequence. Which, by the way, yeah, this was intended to have like musical songs to go along with it. They would have all been like licensed songs because obviously I can't write worth anything, and this was before Funny Man became like a full-on like music guy. So it was before any of that. So I was just intending to use like pop songs and stuff. Probably not specifically like the pop genre, but like just songs in general. We would have spent like a quality amount of time there. I forgot what exactly would have gone on, but there would have been a whole bunch of characters. There was this like king guy, I think, and he would have like directed them to like their true leader. And there was like this like big wall that said like I forgot what it said, but basically that's where Monster Ziggy was. It would have been unclear at this point in the series like who exactly Monster Ziggy was. In fact, we didn't even as I said before, I was thinking about giving him another name. His name wasn't going to be Monster Ziggy, of course. Even now I still don't fully like that name. So eventually, Ziggy does eventually go through there. He says like goodbye to the town for some reason because the town are all like the town is acting like they're gonna die, like Ziggy's gonna die, like they're gonna die in there. It's gonna be crazy and stuff. Um, Ziggy obviously is absolutely terrified to go in there, but Alex persists him to go in there and says that it will give him exit to the first floor. Ziggy is still very confused by what all this means and what does it mean by first floor and all this other stuff. He's very confused by it all. Um, but Alex says that it'll all make sense later, and just tells him to go on through it. So he does go. So Ziggy does go on through. There's another little segment. This is where that maze map, like the maze thing that I was talking about earlier. That's when that would come into play. Like his Monster Ziggy's arena would have been like a maze. And eventually, Ziggy kind of runs into a roadblock and kind of just like stops running around the maze and stuff and trying to like figure it out. We hear Monster Ziggy's voice, which in the teaser trailer that I posted, that was me doing the voice. But then also in Bunny Tales, Monster Ziggy made a small little cameo, and he was actually voiced by my dad. In the credits, I just put him as anonymous, just because I didn't really know what to put him as. But yeah, that's my dad's voice, doing the Monster Ziggy in freaking Bunny Tales. I don't know what voice I would have went with there. Probably my voice because it was kind of like early developments, but basically Monster Ziggy is just like being like all like spooky and stuff, and eventually he grabs Ziggy. And it would have been another like song sequence. It's kind of hard to describe exactly what those song sequences would have been like. Yeah, there's gonna be a song sequence whenever Ziggy first got into the skeleton town place. That one would have been like introductory to the town. Like it's a deep, dark place. It was supposed to be like a. It was supposed to like sound like this like horrible, terrifying place, but it really was just like a bunch of like poor people, I guess. Um, and Monster Ziggy is kind of like the opposite. He was like kind of like supposed to be like the rich person out of all of the poor people, I guess. Like he was still in charge of them all, but more specifically, he has a vendetta against other beings that we don't really know about. Other beings on possibly higher floors of this mansion. He knows that the people of the skeleton town, at least he knows that they're much more like lower class compared to other possible being. Okay, I realize I'm getting it too ahead of myself. I'll talk about this more in episode 2, but basically, yeah, it's very much so that he has a vendetta against other people, and he knows Ziggy, and he obviously knows Ziggy because Ziggy freaking it gets explained later, but he knows Ziggy who he is. But the episode would have like ended with like rocks falling, and it would have actually crushed, and it would have actually killed Monster Ziggy. Yeah, he was gonna die in the first episode. Um, it was supposed to be like play on thing, like you thought this character was gonna be like a big important like threat, like the big important guy, but he would have actually died the first episode. Like whenever you think of the name Ziggy's Mansion, it's not supposed to be like you're thinking of like Monster Ziggy. This is Monster Ziggy's Mansion. No, this is Ziggy's Mansion, like the character Ziggy. That's what I always thought of it as. But yeah, Monster Ziggy would have actually just died there, and he might. I think he was supposed to come back in like some flashbacks, but besides that, he was basically donezo throughout the series. He was only supposed to be a one-time threat throughout the whole show, which, yeah, yeah, that was the actual plan. Which I realized that probably would have been very anticlimactic, especially with like all the build-up Ziggy's Mansion was getting at the time. To have him and to have him and then to have him like die immediately in the first episode, that would have been I don't know how that would have gone, but I guess I'll never really know. But episode 2 it's a lot more disorganized. The first episode also was kind of like disorganized, but I at least knew what was going to happen at like certain points. Episode 2, um, each episode was each episode was planned to be focused like solely kind of on a specific person in Du Bois and like their own like personal experiences and stuff. Like episode 1 was obviously Ziggy's episode because of Ziggy because of Monster Ziggy showing up in like the skeleton town and stuff. The skeleton people would have been like a reference like version of like my own family life and stuff. It would have been it would have been like an interpretation of my own personal life and family experiences and stuff. And then yeah, eventually episode 2, it was originally the original full on plan was to be Alta's episode, like Alta Mainlander, his episode, and his monster version would have been there. Um, his map was like his area place was like never fully finished. I believe it was supposed to be cowboy themed. I think he made some like cowboy characters and stuff for it. Because the thing is, each episode would have had like a town or something, and it would have been like a part of the floor and a part of the mansion. Like floor 1 was like this skeleton people and stuff. Floor 2 is like the cowboy stuff. Floor 3, which is episode 3, we'll get to that, is like a carnival like circus type thing. And then floor 4 would have been like a much more like technologically advanced floor, like similar to what Ziggy woke up in the first floor. I mean, the first episode, similar to that, but it would have not been like the top floor. But getting back to that, episode 2 would have been a bit more of a lore dump episode because episode 1 was more just like setting up what exactly would have what exactly like all these like mysteries and stuff. Episode 2 would have solved like pretty much mostly everything. And it was going to be with a very specific character, the Voice of America. Yes, that was like his name. This is what he looked like. He's like this like radio guy. He's definitely he's supposed to be based off of this character from the documentary Doctor dang it, what was it called again? In Search of Dr. Seuss, that's what it's called. Yeah, he's just like this character that I ripped from this documentary, which I grew up with this documentary. I had it on like DVD and stuff. I watched it a lot. In fact, that's where if you remember in Ziggy's story start, going back to that, there's actually a secret video that you can find like towards the beginning, like while the numbers are running. There's a YouTube URL that flashes on screen for a couple seconds. If you go back to the video and go to like the beginning with like the numbers and stuff, there's a YouTube URL that flashes on screen for a couple seconds. If you go to that video, it's like this like World War II propaganda video thingy, political cartoon type thing. But it was more specifically, it was made by Dr. Seuss. And Dr. Seuss would have been like somewhat influential throughout the series. I forgot exactly what like his theming would have been exactly, but like yeah, Dr. Seuss is like fairly like important. Like Dr. Seuss as a concept, not like the man himself, I guess. But yeah, the Voice of America would have been a character that Ziggy would have found in like this like back room place somewhere in the episode. Episode 2, the rest of the series is not as organized as episode 1. Episode 1 is probably the most organized episode. The other ones, I just know specific moments are supposed to happen, but I don't really have like where exactly it would all like connect, I guess. But yeah, getting back, yeah, it would have been like a back room place. He would have been there, and he would have actually like turned on a projector or something, and then like showed an old recording of Ziggy, Funny Man, and Zabaraf all going to the mansion. And it would have been very clear that this was supposed to be what happened after the end of Normal. I believe Funny Man was also supposed to be a part of the end of normal, like the group that was planning to go to the mansion. He would have been like there as well. Um, but yeah, basically it would have been like pretty much explained there. It was kind of like a found footage type thing where they were just going there and someone was like recording and they basically go there. They find like all these like testing pod things, and eventually the recording cuts out. So it's very clear that Ziggy at this point, um, Ziggy and all of his friends would have been, they were like probably somewhere in this mansion because they went back. Um, they went to the mansion, and then something happened, and then this would have actually cut into the original Ziggy game. Um, okay. Uh, okay, I need to just focus my head a minute for the entire story real quick. So the end of normal would have been them like deciding to go to the mansion. Then we would have had this like little cutscene in episode 2 of like the recording thing of like them at the mansion. Then they would have gotten like really scared. They saw like testing pods and stuff, and they would have ran home. But Alta, this is the original story, by the way. Alta was originally planned to not. He was supposed to like be left at the mansion, like he would have been like he would have been there. And well, everybody else left. He never fully left, and this is when the Ziggy game was going to come into play. The Ziggy game itself. Which by the way, this is the game the game is still in development. But I will be changing the story, so I'm fine giving away the old story for it. But basically, it would have been like Ziggy after what happened to the mansion and stuff. What happened there? He would have been like calling. He would have like called Funny Man in the middle of the night. This is how the opening cutscene of the game would have been. He would have called Funny Man in the middle of the night asking if he knew where Alta was, because Alta was missing. And then eventually just Funny Man just goes back to sleep and tells him that it's just like a bad dream, because at this point I think Funny Man thinks that it's just a dream about what happened, what they saw at the mansion that first time. So Ziggy takes it to himself to go on this like little journey and stuff to head back there, because the mansion's like pretty far away. So that's what the game would have been about. It would have been about trying to like save Alta from the mansion, like going back there. Again, there would have been like boss fights and stuff with Rod and Ant and stuff. And there even was like this other character that Funny Man made of like a Ziggy like worm like bone creature thing. Again, all some of these may continue to be used in the game. I will say the story is probably going to be changed entirely. Because it focuses on Alta, which is a person that I do not wish to be affiliated with that much, and also it's just it was also just like kind of tied in with Ziggy's Mansion. But more importantly, the episode would have not the episode. Jesus Christ, the game would have ended with you going there. The final boss would have been Monster Ziggy. You would have had like a showdown with him. And then eventually, Rod would have showed up in his like tuxedo outfit that I talked about in the text thing. I talked about that. He would have showed up, and he would have actually like joined sides with Monster Ziggy, and basically, both of them would kick your ass in the game, and then you'd be kind of like just knocked out. And then it's very clear that that was going to lead into Ziggy's mansion. With Ziggy waking up and not really knowing where he is. None of that was planned to actually be like talked about in the series. It was intended to be like if you played the game, you would know a bit more context, I guess. It's very messy. It is very, very messy. but yeah, that was the goal. Yeah, he would have went back there. Funny, I don't think it's ever really like said, but Funny would have also went back to the mansion at some point, and he would have also gotten lost somewhere, I believe. So obviously the story, obviously episode 2 was kind of in development hell because of drama that happened with Du Bois. So, instead of Alta, my plan, instead of like the monster Alta design that I made, it instead was going to be Zabarath, and the story would have been a little different. It would have instead be Zabarath that I needed to save in the video game. But at that point, the video game was like kind of on hiatus for a moment, so the story like never really like continued as much as it did previously. But yeah, so it would have been like Zabarath with the monster stuff. I think I talked to him before about what his floor would be because Alta's floor was going to be like cowboys and stuff. His floor, I don't fully remember what it was going to be. Maybe like I think it was maybe music. I don't know. But yeah, his theme and then like civilian townspeople. I don't really know. It was kind of up to him. Episode 2 itself, it would have ended pretty similarly to episode 1. The main villain character, if it would have been Alta or if it would have been Zabarath, either way they were going to like basically die at some point, kind of like Monster Ziggy did. The whole point is that it was supposed to kind of feel like a video game, like you were like going through like all this like stuff and beating these bosses, because again, the true intention of Ziggy's Mansion to begin with was a video game. This kind of was the idea from the very start. So turning it into a series, I feel like I I feel like I was able to add a bit more story to it. That was the true goal of the game back when it was like the story game stuff. This was like kind of the story game for Rec Room. This is kind of like what it was supposed to be. And then yeah, very similar thing would have happened in episode 3, which I do realize just now that would have been probably really repetitive of the show to like constantly be every single episode like a thing is happening, and a evil monster shows up, cool little boss fight plays, and then they would have died. That's that is kind of a repeating formula. Um, but episode 3 would have been Funny Man's episode. Obviously, his design was changed, as I said before. He originally he looked like just Tony from Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. His design was changed into like this more uh, like character, like circus performer character, I guess. And like his whole floor was planned to be the circus floor. It would have had like merry-go-rounds and stuff. He didn't decide that. I actually did. I would have been up to changing it if he wanted to, but I think he liked it, so that's why I kept it as kind of a carnival slash circus floor theme. There also was going to be another character. We had a friend. Their name was Belle. They were also part of the friend group, and they were supposed to be. They had their own character entirely. That was kind of like grouped up with Funny Man's character. They were like a cat, I believe. They were like this like cat creature. They weren't supposed to be Silly Girl from the Ziggy story stuff. It wasn't supposed to be that character. It was based off of Belle's in real life cat that she had. That's what it was supposed to be. Here's a design sheet that they made as well of like of the character. Yeah, this whole that it was supposed to be kind of like a jester, character type thing. Again, it was supposed to be like a circus floor with like all these like circus guys, which I do luckily have concept pictures for what the circus guys would have looked like from Funny Man, because he was going to design his own characters for this episode. But yeah, the episode would have been like fairly the same. I think there would have been a bit more to it, but I don't fully remember. I do, however, remember the episode would have ended on like a twist thing. Throughout the whole series, Alex was kind of like this mysterious character, but it would have been like fully revealed at the end of that episode that Alex was supposed to be a villain and that he was actually just like using Ziggy to kill all the kings because basically, there were like like each king had like their own like power level, I guess. So at that very point that Ziggy woke up, kind of the most powerful king at the moment was Monster Ziggy. So after he was defeated, then it was Zabrap or Alta, whoever was going to be in episode 2. They would have been the most powerful. So then after they were defeated, then it would have been passed on to Funny Man, and then of course it would keep on getting like passed on whoever got defeated next. And the next one that was in that power rank was actually Alex, which it's always a bit mysterious about who Alex is. We would have never seen Alex at all. We would have just heard their voice. We would have never saw what they looked like. But the last episode, it was supposed to be like this robot type floor. It's very clear that this is kind of where Alex was from, I guess. Whoever Alex was, he came from this. He came from the top. He came from the very tip top floor, which is like full of like these robots and stuff. And these robots like look very friendly. But after Ziggy is like done chatting with them, they would have been like secretly like plotting against and trying to take down like the skeleton people and stuff. As the song was going on, it would have really not really been like that important to like it would have not been that important to the show itself. It was more just like having it was more just like there because everything in Ziggy's Mansion was kind of a metaphor for something, like different parts of my own life experiences. Um, that was again that was the true thing of Ziggy's Mansion. It was all supposed to be like my own life experiences, but like with a twist, like all these like all the mansion stuff and shenanigans. But the actual series itself would have ended with Alex not actually being there, but like remote controlling this giant robot character, which his name is Overclock, I think. No, his name is Power Chord. That's what his name. I got confused with the FNAF World character. No, his name was Power Chord, and yeah, he would have been this like very evil little robot dude. He would have been remote controlled by Alex. And that would have been like the final like king. After he was defeated, it's implied that Alex apparently like got away and and then probably that Alex just got away, and everything. It was like still a somewhat satisfying ending because they defeated over they defeated freaking the guy fucking Power Chord. God dang it, they defeated him. At least Ziggy did, and the series kind of was just gonna end like that. As I said before, there was a somewhat idea for a season 2. All of the people that were like in the mansion, all like the people from their own civilizations, would have been. They would have moved up into like the actual like world. They would have completely like moved out of the mansion. And season 2 would have kind of focused on that. I have a couple small ideas for season 2, but like right now they're kind of like a blur. But yeah, really there was only planned for one season. But yeah, that's kind of the story of Ziggy's Mansion. Kinda, it's a bit like I'm forgetting some stuff because I mean this started back in 2023 and it was going on throughout the entirety of 2024 and even a little bit in 2025. Like this was going on for a very long time, probably the longest project that I've ever worked on, but it still was like fairly like I don't think it was that good. it doesn't really sound to me like it was gonna be that good. Um, I was planning on working like really freaking hard on it though, but like at the end of the day, I do think it would have been like fairly like it would have been like a cringy thing to post. So kind of happy that it doesn't really exist now. Oh yeah, other stuff that comes to mind is I was trying to keep the series. This is going back to Ziggy's story. That little part is I was trying to keep the series like contained within the set videos and stuff, but I did kind of branch out of that a little bit with the I did a collaboration with Funny Man on one of his videos. It was the Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum ranking. I had a little segment to do in that video, and that's like kind of connected with it, I guess. I don't really like view it as like full on canon though. Um, I don't know. It was just something that I just remembered on, and then the other times that I was part of his rankings, it wasn't really like connected to anything. It was more just like my actual opinions and stuff. Which I do think another thing that made it kind of confusing is for some videos, I would like I would have Ziggy like in care. I would have Ziggy like talk to you guys and stuff. But I would have his like actual like mask. I would have like the mascot there, even though I was talking about like real stuff with like projects and stuff. But the way that it was framed, I honestly think people could interpret that as like being part of the series. Um, which I do get that. I do think it was probably a bad idea to both have to have like animated like little animated stuff for like just talking videos like this, and also having Ziggy talk in other ways for the actual series itself, because in universe Ziggy has a YouTube channel, and it's kind of just like a parallel of this one, I guess. I feel like it just made things a bit more confusing, which is why now, if I'm ever gonna make more of these like just talking videos, I'm probably just gonna have like nothing but like these like wood pictures and this stuff in the background, just so you know that this video is like a bit more like laid back and just talking and not just like I'll have visuals, obviously some visuals if it's like important for what I'm talking about, but yeah, I just feel like that was a bit complicated. I think it was. I have no idea what you guys thought about any of it. If you have any more questions about Ziggy's Mansion, and I do mean specifically about like Ziggy's Mansion or the Ziggy story, if there's like anything you have specifically like about that, then I will be willing to answer it. I don't think I covered every tiny little detail. After all, like I said, this project was it was being worked on for quite a long time, so there's definitely some stuff that I probably forgot, and I'll probably remember it later. Um, but yeah, so if you have any questions, then feel free to ask me. I overall kind of want to just end this video off here, as well as this year off here. Not from the channel. Okay, so what I mean by that is I this year has overall just been kind of a headache for me. The whole year has just been going by very quickly. It feels like I haven't really gotten like anything done like at all. It's I don't know. It's been like a real headache year. I originally, of course, I started the year off with Yellow 2, which is a project I am fairly satisfied with. But I do know that not a lot of people saw it, especially compared to like the first Yellow and stuff. That was definitely a bit of a buzzkill way to begin the year, because I completely devoted like the first like almost like 5 to 6 months of the year working on Yellow 2. Only for it to kind of review a little poorly on it. Was again, it wasn't even on my channel, which I guess I get, but I don't know. And overall, just like the kind of just like iffiness of Yellow 2 was kind of just like a big downgrader for the rest of the year. I just wasn't really that motivated to work on videos at all. Um, I worked on like some small things, but most of them never even got released. And you can find if there's anything that uh, if there's anything that I worked on, but I'd never finished, it'll be on the unfinished videos playlist, so you guys could find it there if you're ever curious about stuff like that. Um, but yeah, this whole year has just been iffy. I did unlist a whole bunch of videos. Not because I am, not because I'm trying to like hide my past or whatever shit. No, it's simply because I feel like those videos don't really represent what I want the channel to be. Like, yeah, I unlisted that freaking Amazing World of Gumball video that got me really popular. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's the video that actually got me to 1,000 subs. If it's not, then still thank you guys for 1,000 subs. It's still crazy to think about. I still don't think I think I still have not even processed that. That's freaking still that's crazy of you guys. Thank you. But again, I did private that gumball video, and then not private, unlisted it. If you ever want to find a old video of mine, then just go to the playlist. If you go to the very bottom of my channel, you can find a timeline. So you can find some timeline stuff. It's gonna be for specific years, so you can just find a video that's like specifically from that year, and it'll probably be there. I'm still working on the playlist because I'm trying to figure out shorts because I shorts are a bit more complex. So yeah, I don't know. I might just I don't know. Shorts are a bit more complex for me. So yeah, I would discuss my plans for 2026, but to be fair, I have literally no idea where this channel could go in 2026 at all. Um, I guess I could say, Bunny Tales is still happening. I know it got delayed, exponentially, but it's still being worked on. It's still a thing that is it's probably going to be the first thing of 2026. Um, if anything, maybe I could try to release it on my birthday, but no promises. No promises. It probably won't even release on like fucking Valentine's Day or whatever. I don't know when it'll come out, but hopefully it'll be like fairly soon. And then anything else beyond that, um, I'm not okay. I'm not in the new Digital Circus episode. I mean not Digital Circus, Shit Circus. I'm not in episode 6, I believe. I don't know when I'm coming back. But yeah. Um, I I am also I have been showing a bit of curiosity with working with Big Fish on a secret project that I haven't talked about yet. Basically, I'd be writing the script, and then he would make the actual video itself. I won't give any like big clues about it, but yeah, it's a something. It's something that I think you guys would like. Hopefully, if you guys check out Big Fish's channel. Um, Again, as for this channel, I just have no idea where it could go. Really, I do still want to make content. It's a bit more difficult to do that now that I have like way more of like a bigger responsibility on my shoulder with my life and stuff. I have like so much responsibility that I have to maintain now. So I'm I want to if I could I could just make videos for the rest of my life on this channel. Like it is fun, but at the end of the day, I know that this can't be my life. This can't like be the one thing that I do for the rest of my existence is just this channel. So I mean, yeah, I do applaud you for sticking around to the very end of this video, or maybe just skipped it. I don't even know. Um, but thank you for hearing me ramble on about a series that is no longer going to be a thing. If anything, I'm just happy to finally get this thing out of my head. Because, yeah, Ziggy's Mansion has been, like, kind of haunting me throughout the entirety of this year. Because I've wanted to make this very specific video where I went over everything. But it was, like, it was, it was such a big drag down. And also, I was also kind of scared about bringing up, like, past drama stuff. Because another reason this show got canceled was not only because of just, like it was taking so long and I just didn't really want to it was taking too long. It's not just that, it's also because of like some personal drama stuff, and the fact that the series is like so linked up with my real life is just I don't know. I didn't want to change the entire story cuz it would just like completely like butcher the show itself. It would completely make it would make the meaning pointless if I just like cut out everything. So I feel like it would just be better if I just not did it. Again, I do think it's fine. I think it would have been an okay thing that I made. Um but yeah. As for other things, um I guess I might as well talk about in case anything else comes up in 2026. Probably not, but I have no idea. Um Home Shift, I kind of wish I could bring back. I did do a little video about Home Shift, but that was really just because of the FNAF anniversary. I don't know if that'll be a full series or not. I feel as I need to get another VR headset so I can actually play Rec Room on VR again. I've been having issues with like PSVR 2 not compatible with Rec Room and stuff. I've been having a lot of those issues, which is honestly that's kind of holding me back from working on any like 3D modeling stuff in Rec Room. Is honestly just that, because it's so much more difficult to do stuff in Rec Room now. Um, as for anything else, Bandit probably won't be a full series. I don't really intend for it to. I honestly, I rewatched the pilot recently for Bandit, the Adventure Begins thing, and yeah, it was a lot different than I remembered it. It was, it was kind of cringy, and I overall just, if anything, the closest thing you'll get is I might do like a comic read of like some of the old Bandit comics that I have. That probably be the closest thing you get to the full Bandit series because I don't know, I'm just not that interested in releasing it anymore. I really was at one point, but now it's just not really. Um, I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head. Maybe more Green Skeleton. Green Skeleton is just like an in joke in the channel. Like it's not really made to be that much of a serious thing. Which I mean, maybe in 2026. Now that I think about it, honestly, I know some of you guys watch like the shitpost meme videos. Honestly, I might just do those in 2026. Like just have that whole year be full of like shitpost malarkey dumb videos. Maybe I might throw a serious thing in there. I don't know. But I guess you could try to look forward to that if you are interested in this channel by then. Um, Again, sorry that I keep on rambling. You probably are like fast asleep at this point. So, I guess now would be a good time to just end the video. Yeah. Thank you for sticking around and have a happy holidays.